Hello, today we are going to install the Linux operating system Alpine Linux 3.20 with KDE Plasma in a QEMU virtual machine. This is the Wikipedia page for Alpine Linux. Instead of the GNU C library, GNU Core Utils and systemd uses Muscle, BusyBox and OpenRC. The package manager is APK, Alpine Package Keeper. This is the official website. Let's download the latest version. So 3.20, we want the standard version for x86-64. This size is 209 megabytes, which is really small, smaller than one CD. Let's install in Virt Manager, File, New Virtual Machine. Use an ISO, forward, browse, refresh, Alpine Standard. Choose volume. Could not detect the operating system inside of the ISO. So we'll use, I'm not sure what. Alpine 319. Okay, that's okay. Forward. Let's assign as much RAM as possible. Like this, 10 gigabytes of RAM. CPUs as much as possible. 200 gigabytes of virtual hard disk. Alpine Linux 320. Customize, finish. Let's look at the way the template that we have selected, which is Alpine 3.19, has configured the virtual machine. Newest motherboard, BIOS, that's okay. CPUs, 1 socket and 14 threads in total. Hard disk, the fastest possible disk bus, which is VirtIO. The CD-ROM is fast, SATA. Network interface card, fastest, VirtIO. And tablet. In order not to need to grab and ungrab the mouse inside the virtual machine. The virtual hard disk is being allocated. Booting from CD-ROM, ISO Linux. So we have booted in live CD mode, and we require a user and password combination in order to be able to connect to the machine. From alpinelinux.org/downloads, there's the docs tab on the top of the page. Takes you to the user handbook page, which is similar to the free BSD handbook. This is the glossary. Then the possibilities of installer files, ISO files, and architectures. So we went with standard and x86-64. Next up is installing. Says that once the CD-ROM has finished booting, you can log in without a password and as the local Linux user root. And then there's this setup Alpine script. So let's do that. User root, no password. Okay, In here we have two options, either setup -alpine -q, which is the quick installation mode, and the full installation mode, which is setup -alpine without any command line parameters. And this is what we're going to use. It's also noted in the message when you log into the system, where it says that you can set up the system with the command setup alpine. Okay, keyboard layout. What are the possibilities? There's no EN in here. There's US. I know. Let's go with US. Keyboard layout variant. US. Enter the system hostname in fully qualified form. Alpine Linux 330, 320, but without any domain. Hopefully it's okay. Interface ETH0, DHCP, no manual network configuration. Got a DHCP lease. Password for the user root. Time zone, US. How do we autocomplete this thing? Eastern. Random number generator, busybox ACPI, cron D. For a proxy, no proxies. A mirror for the binary packages for APK. Find and use the fastest mirror. A random mirror. Community repo enable. I want both the fastest and community repo. How do I do that? So mirror number one is dl-cdn alpinelinux.org, which is probably the mirror to use because it's CDN, it's fast, it's everything you'd want, and it's probably the first to be up to date. The default option was 1. So I should select 1 if possible. So I needed to stop the virtual machine, delete the virtual machine, and recreate the virtual machine from scratch. It was really fast, I don't know, 2 minutes or something. Let's look back at this list of options. So we need to select a mirror. The correct option here to select is the first URL in the mirror list, which is the one that's the CDN content delivery network. We can, for instance, select show mirror list as. And again, we can confirm that dl-cdn.alpinelinux.org is what we actually want. The others are hosted by the mirror providers, such as internet service providers, universities. So I'm just going to go with option 1. Q1, the default option. I'm going to press enter. And it hasn't enabled the community repo. Okay, we'll try to enable it after we get further. Set up a user. Yes, I want a user. Lowercase login name. Password. SSH key. Open SSH, please. Which disks would you like to use? Or none? None is the default option. How do I select an option? Like this, VDA. Okay. How would you like to use it? Question mark. Sys traditional disk install will be created the following partition /boot/ and swap. Development boxes, desktops, virtual servers, etc. Okay, so we want sys. The following disks will be erased. Erase, yes. So there are various setup minus something utilities. Such as setup minus key map to set the keyboard layout. Setup host name for the computer name. Repositories. Main and community. And then there's setup minus APK repos. Okay, so says that the installation has finished and we want to reboot. Okay, hopefully it's booting from the virtual hard disk, not from the CD-ROM. There's no CD-ROM in media in the CD-ROM drive anymore. In boot options, there's no option to boot from the CD-ROM, so we know it has booted from the virtual hard disk. And also we can see that the host name is the one that we have selected in the installer. Okay, let's log in as the user that we have created. Or let's not do that, if possible. Network interface card, IPv4 address. Let's try to connect with an SSH client. We've told the installer for Alpine Linux to enable the OpenSSH server. Yes. And now we're connected to the virtual machine without using the console from Virt Manager at all. Graphical console spice. Okay. Next up, what we want to do is to make sure that we have the community repository enabled. Let's see if we can become the super user. Do-as should be already installed. Asks for the password of the user administrator. Now I am the user root. Add CAPK repositories. And community is commented out, which is not okay. Let's see what text editors we have available. There's no Nano, no Emacs, there's a VI. Okay, let's see if we can survive in VI. Okay, I have pressed the letter I to enter interactive mode. I have pressed the keyboard key delete to delete the comment character. And now I want to save. Escape, W, Q. So escape colon W, Q, exclamation mark. And we're going to list again the repositories. And let's see what extra there's in the handbook. We boot it correctly. Okay. I have a normal user. I have administrative access. Do as. The community package repository is enabled. Okay. So let's see how we can use APK. So there's APK search, APK add, APK update, APK upgrade. So let's see, similar probably to opt. There's an update which downloads the package metadata. Okay. There's an upgrade to get all of the list of all of installed packages on this machine. Check if there's a newer version for any of these, and then install the newer versions. Okay, probably all of the 57 packages are up to date. APK del. We can install multiple packages. This is how you stop the networking. You start the OpenSSH server. Status. Okay. Next up, we want to install KDE Plasma. And this is the end of the handbook. Doesn't go into many details on how to install an graphical user interface desktop. But for that, we have the Alpine Linux wiki. It's also available in alpinelinux.org website on the top and the second tab, wiki. Okay. How do we get information about how to install KDE? Okay, this should be the page. I've installed Alpine Linux. I have created a user account. I have enabled the community repository. I want xorg. So let's see how we install that. Setup xorg base. There's a script which installs packages such as xorg-server, xf86-input-libinput, xinit eu dev. So let's see what this script does. Setup-xorg-base. So a replacement for systemd udev, which is eudev. GNU MP library, X libraries, software graphical acceleration, more X libraries, pieces of Wayland, the xorg minus server, fonts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, input, keyboard and mouse, more X libraries, GCC, GNU standard C++ library, okay. Next up, install and configure dbus. Let's do that. So apk add dbus. I see that there's two options in here. The manual installation, where we install the meta package plasma minus desktop minus meta, or we can use the provided script, which is named setup minus desktop, which I did. In here it asks the name of some desktop environments. I have chosen the second option, which is Plasma. it installs 563 APK packages, libraries, audio video codecs, the bus, audio, Bluetooth, Qt 5, Qt 6, KDE Frameworks version 6, Network Manager Qt, EU Dev, which if you go the manual route, you need to install yourself. And it finished, so 2.5 gigabytes of packages, 682 packages. And it has also edited the OpenRC configuration such that the services, the bus and SDDM are started by default when we restart the computer. Otherwise, we would need to run rc-update space add SDDM. And rc-service SDDM space start. Okay. I'm not sure if we have enough KDE applications. We could install them now or after we connect to the graphical user interface. I'm going to use the xrdp RDP server in order to connect to the virtual machine. Okay, so let's install a minimum of packages. I would want Kate console and maybe bash and git. Okay, so both Kate and console have been installed already. Only bash and git were installed now. Next up, I'm going to install the RDP server. There's a wiki page for this also. We install two packages. On most Linux operating systems, xrdp is actually split into two packages. There's xrdp and xorg xrdp. Okay, it has created some secrets. And next up, we want to enable these services for both xrdp and xrdp sesman, session manager. Okay, and now the xrdp server will start when we want to connect from another machine remotely to this virtual machine using an RDP remote desktop protocol client application. And by default, a minimal X session will start, but we want the xrdp server to start a full KDE Plasma 6 session. Okay, so next up, similar to the way you would start the X server using start X command line. So using X init rc, we need to configure the xrdp server and tell it what it should start instead of the minimal default X session that xrdp ships with. Okay, so I'm not the user root anymore. I need to create this file. Let me actually install a text user interface text editor. apk add emacs minus no x. Is there a nano? And there's a nano too. Okay. Does there exist a package do as sudo? Do as sudo shim. So I'm searching on Google, Alpine package search, and then the name of a package or parts of the name of the package. Takes me to the correct place. In here, I want to only have x86-64 results and only the branch 320, not edge. And it's searching for exact match in package name. We want to use asterisk as a placeholder, which means any characters any number of times. For results, we're interested in this one, do as sudo shim. A similar package exists in other operating systems that use do as instead of sudo, such as OpenBSD. So there's one package which is do as, which is similar to a very slimmed version of sudo. But then there's a second package which just creates a sudo executable that's in the path, and that doesn't do anything but call the already existing do as binary. This is what I'm looking for in Alpine Linux also. So I am looking at the do as minus sudo minus shim package. And in here it says contents of package. I can see it's exactly what I want, just one file /usr/bin/sudo, which is probably, I know, a symlink to /usr/bin/2s. So let's actually install that also. I'm selecting text and middle click, so I'm clicking on the scroll of the mouse. Okay, which do as, which sudo, it doesn't seem to be a symlink, symbolic link, /sudo. Let's see if we can use sudo and do as interchangeably. I'm not the user root, I'm the user administrator. We go sudo su, ask for password, and I'm the user root now. Okay, so now we also have do as, because there are many third-party scripts and applications that expect that you have the executable sudo available. If Alpine Linux prefers do as instead of sudo, there's not a problem, but I'm going to install the second package, which is do as sudo shim, which will also provide a sudo executable. Okay, so I'm at this part, and now I'm going to try to just create this file and see if I can connect to the virtual machine using the RDP protocol. I could create it with nano, for instance, and the content is this. Control X, Y, enter. And now I want to reboot the virtual machine. I'm on a Linux host machine, hardware machine, and I have the package FreeRDP installed. So I will use a command line such as this in order to connect to the virtual machine in a second tab. So in console, the KDE terminal, first tab will be reserved for connecting to the virtual machine using the SSH protocol. And the second tab is reserved for connecting to the virtual machine using the RDP protocol. Okay, and the IP address ends with 233. Uppercase Y. We can see the splash screen of KDE Plasma 6. It should create the configuration files for the current user, for the user administrator. It's the first time that the local Linux user administrator has connected to the KDE Plasma session. We are greeted with the KDE Welcome Center application. Let's see if we have a web browser. We do. Firefox. And things look really bad. There's no minimize buttons, no close button. So let's fix that. Title bar. Never show. No need for things that I don't use. And 2 more settings. And downloads. I want to be asked where to save the file when I'm downloading a file. Okay, so everything looks the way I would expect. KDE Plasma 6, Firefox, the correct branding in the Welcome Center. System settings looks the way I would expect it to look like. No missing icons, correct themes. Your system command center overview. Windows key and then W. Keyrunner. Alt space. I only knew about Alt F2, but I'm not sure why Alt space starts Keyrunner, because Alt space is a common shortcut used in integrated development environments, etc. Okay. So if you click on Keyrunner, you're still on page 3 and you need to go back to page 3. You cannot go next to the page 4, which is unexpected. Okay, user base Plasma. a page that's translated into multiple languages, and that's totally not up to date. Last changed in 2022, 2 years ago. Okay, Plasma Discover is the App Store, but as far as I know, the Plasma Discover App Store does not support APK packages. Yes, as expected, but still the KDE App Store, so Plasma Discover, can manage two different things: binary packages for the operating systems, such as APKs in this case, or Alpine Linux, but also additions to the KDE Plasma desktop and applications. So Plasma add-ons, splash screens, icons, cursors, etc. The things that you can find on store.kde.org. And it's showing Alpine Linux packages. Great. Do we have a search? Yes, we do have a search. MC. File manager shell that emulates Norton Commander. And I have a download or an install button. Click on it. Error, authorization denied. Okay, so in here I can see that no manual testing has been performed on the combination Alpine Linux, the current version of KDE Plasma, and Discover. Single clicking on the card does the correct thing, which is opens the web page for MC, Midnight Commander. Okay, show GIMP in Discover. Doesn't work because no upstream. Okay, so there's some integration between KDE Plasma, the App Store, and Alpine Linux, but maybe the integration is not complete, so it doesn't ask for do as sudo password. Upstream integration is not that great, such that you cannot click on any of these URLs or URLs, for instance, from the apps.kde.org website. This URL upstream ://org.kde.ocular.desktop. Middle click on the tab works to close the tab, as I would expect. Plasma 6 supporters. And finish. Okay, so this looks like a vanilla default KDE Plasma 6, the default wallpaper, the fact that the KDE Plasma 6 main panel is floating. Let's look at the applications available by default. I've installed Emacs, Kate was pre-installed, GwenView pre-installed the file viewer, Firefox was pre-installed, Info Center, Discover Console, System Monitor have been installed by default, Spectacle, the screenshot tool, and Welcome Center, and Arc, the archiver tool. Okay. In favorites, I want to have console. And Kate. Okay. Let's see if the apps work okay. Open folder, the home directory. Works okay. Let's enable the plugin for the file system browser. Here it is. Does it show hidden files? Not yet. Does now. Clicking on a file does not open the file. You need to double click, which is unexpected. ASH. Probably the default shell, probably somewhat related to the Debian Alquist shell dash. Because the graphical user interface applications do not have a visible terminal, because, for instance, the application Firefox was not started from a terminal. The standard error and standard output from the processes should go somewhere, and some of these goes to tilde/.xorg xrdp.10.log file. Not really, it's just the logs from the X server. Okay, let's see the only other application that I want to see that it works correctly. Console works okay. How do I hide the toolbars? Okay, so this is the latest version of Alpine Linux 3.20. I've installed it using the official default installer wizard, which is named setup-alpine. Then I have in there I have created a user named administrator. I have selected the first APK repository, which is with index 1. This provides the executable do as configured by default. I have restarted, and it has also installed the OpenSSH server. I have restarted the virtual machine, which ends the installer. From then on, I did not use the VM virtual machine manager user interface. I'm connecting to the virtual machine from the terminal, from console. I have two tabs available. One for connecting in text user interface mode using the SSH client, SSH space administrator at the IPv4 address of the virtual machine. In the second tab in console, I'm connecting to the virtual machine in graphical user interface mode using this command line xrdp /u colon the name of the user /w, which stands for with colon, and /h colon. So this is 1080p. This is the RDP client window. I can resize it. That will tell the Alpine Linux virtual machine, please resize to this strange resolution. There's no scaling, no stretching, no nothing. We can see it in the KDE Plasma system settings. Search for resolution. And in display configuration, it says that the current resolution is 960 by 1008. And as we resize the window, the resolution will change to something weirder. I can even maximize, even if the host machine has 1080p resolution. The FreeRDP window is maximized. There's room for the FreeRDP title bar and for the KDE Plasma panel on the host machine. And the current resolution becomes similar to 1080p, so 1920 in width. There's no pixels taken on the width, but there are these pixels taken from the height. So the height becomes 1008. The RDP connection is extremely snappy, extremely fast. I can program without any problems inside of this Alpine Linux 3.20 virtual machine. Thank you.